the power going out. I had my windows cleaned today. I live in Florida, so we had our windows cleaned. Our guest
Yeah.
is here, yay. And
Hi,
and
Tom.
hi Tom, come on in when you're ready. But I had my windows cleaned and I had a neighbor clean them for me because it's actually just like I couldn't do it myself. And the power washer, hit the breakers, right? So like everything went out, and you would have thought that my kids were like addicts because the power went out, which means the internet went out, which means that like they all came out of their rooms and they're like, what's happening? And I'm like, okay, just breathe. Everybody breathe. The power washer knocked, I got to go into the garage and flip some switches around. Like, we're good, you know? It's really funny.
Yeah.
Tom,
Hi.
hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're just talking about chaos and
Mm.
the lovely, you know, the parent voyage and how mystery sludge ends up on handles of doors in the fridge and
Gross.
counters. And yeah. And it was funny because I was actually putting the screens in. Like, I'm pretty handy, so I was putting the screens back in. And of course, like, as I'm putting the screens in, my youngest, why do they always choose to ask you like maybe worldly questions, or they're asking you to buy something for them as you're like in the heat of the moment of trying to put like the screen in, right? So
Yes. Mhm.
it's not like you're all there. And I just had this moment where I was like, what is happening right now? No, you can't get V-Bucks. I'm trying to put the screen in. Like, I'm not buying you.
They
But
do
like,
the same thing to me.
I think that it's like I think the kids have like an innate business sense, right? Like, they know you're
I know.
stressed. They know you're busy. They know that you're trying to do something. And they're like, ha, this is when I'm going to ask for the $99 V-Bucks package,
Mm. Right. Nice.
So, yeah, so that's what I had going on. Tom, I'm
Cool.
glad that you're here. We are going to talk a little business, but I want to know a little bit more about you. But I wanted to share with you because I think you'll understand this. I
Hmm.
was walking the dogs today, and I walked past a neighbor's house and I thought, wow, their landscaping looks amazing. Like, it's really artistic, it's really cool. And I
Hmm.
looked to see if there was a sign in the front yard, and there was no sign. And I'm like, okay, all right. So then I looked to see the landscaping truck and like looked to see if the landscaping truck had like some signage on the truck.
Hmm.
And there was no signage on the truck. And I thought, oh, that is, odd. So I kept walking and I thought, I'd really like to contact this landscaping company. But how am I going to know how to contact them if they have no sign and they have no signage on their truck? I'll never
Hmm.
be able to know who they are and that they're available, right, for services.
That's because
And
it was an FBI surveillance
yeah, that's
vehicle.
true.
That's why.
You're right, you're right. It is Florida, you never know what's gonna happen down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just thought about that in terms of, like, a business sense,
They
like
failed marketing 101.
yes, they did. But we can talk more about the business side of voiceover, but tell us a little bit about how we always like to hear about the origin story. Like,
Sure.
how did you can take us all the way back to the inception, or
Well, when a man and a woman love each other very much. Um,
or, like, wherever you started your creative journey.
okay. Well, okay. So I usually started at a certain point because this ain't my first podcast, but I'll
Yeah.
go back. I'll go back a little bit. I'll go back a little bit farther. Um, I was not one of those like musical theater kids that just wasn't me. I didn't shut up. I was a talker. So I remember when I was 5 years old, I needed to get my tonsils taken out. And so we had a consult with the doctor, and so you could ask questions. And my mom said, "Hey, while you're in there, could you turn his volume down?" Um,
Right.
so yes,
You were a loud kid.
I was a loud kid. But I didn't consider anything performative until my junior year of high school because I was actually hanging out with a friend in the high school in the office, and the chorus teacher came in, who actually turns out played the organ in Radio City Music Hall for like decades.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
my friend was in the chorus, is like, hey, Mr. Westner, and he's like, hello, David, how are you today? And it's like one of those with the Mid Atlantic thing, and it's like, oh, it's my friend Tom. He's like, oh, hello, Tom. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you, sir. He's like, have you considered chorus? I'm like, no, no, I have not considered chorus. He's like, well, can you sing? I'm like, no. He's like, of course you can, my boy. Say and I'm like, and he's like, say and I'm like, oh, he's like, second period next Tuesday.
Wow.
I'm like, I guess I'm in chorus now. So, so that's how I started singing. And then my senior year, I needed to fill my schedule with credits, so I
Yeah.
took drama
Okay.
because I thought it'd just be easy credit, you know, bump up the GPA. Silly boy. Um, and I went out for the fall play on a dare. It was Agatha Christie's Mousetrap. And I firmly believe the only reason I got the part is because I could do the best British accent, which one of my Dungeons and Dragons characters had a British accent, so I had many years to practice.
Nice.
And I could say Mem Sahibish when none of the other kids could say it during the audition. So I think that's how I got the part. But
Wow.
yeah, so I
That's
so
a
I got
fun
the act.
fact.
Yeah, so I got the acting bug when I was like 17. And then we did Grease in the spring, and I was Sunny, and I was the teen angel.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, so I got to do both of those roles, so that was a lot of fun. And then I started auditioning for colleges, and I got into Montclair State University in Montclair, New Jersey, and I got a BFA in acting,
Okay.
which was great. I learned about Stanislavski and stage combat and makeup and theater history, and I got to do some fun plays and I discovered Shakespeare and all that stuff. And then I got into the National Shakespeare Conservatory here in Manhattan,
Wow.
and so for a
Wow.
year, I got my Chekhov and my ballet on and all of that
Really?
stuff. Yeah, yeah, the ballet was pretty funny. Um, you
That's
got like
painful.
I'm an actor that can move. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
say, there's dancers who can sing and comedians who can. I'm an actor who can move.
I like
So,
that.
I can get from here to there, but that's about it.
I like
And I
that a lot.
Yeah, no, that's a common like theater terms. Like you're an actor who can dance, who you can actor who can move. You can't full blown dance, but like anyway. So I did that for a year. I wasn't happy with the program. I dropped out. And then I'm back home in New Jersey, and my mom's sitting there reading a copy of New Jersey Monthly magazine, and she said, "What's voiceover?" And I'm like, I don't know. You kind of like talk for money. And I vaguely heard about it as like a side hustle for some theater, film, TV actors. It's a thing to do on the side. She's like, well, there's a coach not far from here. Maybe that's something you could try. So I called the coach. Her name was Hope Noah. And she said, yeah, come on down, come over for a diagnostic. So I went to her house, did a diagnostic. She's like, yes, you have some potential. Let's get some coaching. So I coached with her for 6 months. And then I produced a commercial demo, which I think where is it?
Is it
You gonna
on a
play?
tape?
Are you gonna
Oh
Is
play
it
yeah.
it
on a
for us?
record?
Oh no, 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 no. It's
Oh,
it, it's no, it's a cassette.
Oh my
I,
gosh, a cassette. I love it. I
Yeah,
remember those.
it's a cassette tape. I even printed
Little
my own
label.
J card.
Oh my God, that's the
oh, look at that.
best.
Very
That's
exciting.
awesome.
Yeah, so I did this demo. This is 1995, so this is how old I am.
Two
And she
years
said,
old.
here's your little certificate, got a little graduate certificate. I still have it in a filing cabinet somewhere. It's very exciting. And then she gave me like a ream of Xerox copies of production company listings.
Okay.
And she's like, start your cold calls. Good luck. That was it.
She just
So, yeah,
sent you on your way.
get out there and be somebody. Yeah. So, and now remember, this is 1995.
Yeah,
There's no home recording. There's no social media. There's no online casting.
right.
There's basically nothing. I was in a suburb of New York City, so there's
Yeah.
there's phone calls.
I don't think there was internet even.
There
Like
was internet. There was
was
internet, but
there?
there really, yeah, there
It
was
was like
internet.
intranet net or something. I don't even know. Like,
It
No,
wasn't
first,
widely accessible to the public.
yeah,
yes,
no,
I
I didn't
had
think
it. I
so.
had an email address back then, but
Okay.
you didn't really use it for marketing. It doesn't, it was like
Yeah,
a business tool. It wasn't like
right.
a thing.
Yeah.
So I cold called sometimes 50 times a day. Yeah,
Okay.
because there was literally nothing else to do. And if they said yes, then I would, grab a padded mailer and print out a J card and stick a cassette in it and mail it off.
Oh my God.
And eventually that turned into CDs, which then I
Yeah.
would mail off. And it took me a year to get my first gig. And
Wow.
it was a public service announcement for genital herpes awareness.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Dude.
That's
yeah,
exciting.
it kind of was exciting because like
Yeah.
it was my first gig. I went into New York City. I went to a recording studio, actually not too far from here. And there were other professional voice actors in the room. And hi, this is Tom. Da da da. This is so and so. This is so and so. It's okay. All right, get you in the booth. Here's your copy. Jenny, I just got home from the doctor. And she's like, Doctor, what's wrong? I'm like, well, remember that jock itch I told you about? Well, it wasn't jock itch. It was genital herpes. Yeah, that was my first voiceover, and the pay was pretty damn good.
That's
Well,
awesome.
the money was better back then,
Yeah.
actually, in voiceover. Strangely enough,
Mm.
30 years
Yeah.
ago, money was
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first gig. So, and that was the beginning of many years of audition and pray. Because casting sites wouldn't come around for a long time. And I went through a couple of agents, but they were all scam artist agents that you had to pay them
Oh,
and get your headshots through them and
Oh.
take classes through them, and they would never send you on any auditions. So I kind of went through that nonsense and all of that
really?
stuff. Yeah, so basically, I navigated the industry poorly. Um, I wish I had this little compass back
Yeah.
then, because I basically made all of my decisions out of ignorance, insecurity, or fear.
Right.
All I acted like a starving artist, and the business treated me like a starving artist. And shockingly, I didn't get far.
Mm-hmm.
So I went full time in 2006,
Okay.
because I got fired from my full time job.
That
But the good
happens.
that happens. But the good news was that the situation was so messed up that I got to get lawyers involved, and
Oh.
yeah, it was bad. Uh, Basically, my number two wanted my job, so
Uh,
she decided it'd be a great idea to put the new girl up and say that I sexually harassed her, and
Oh,
they believed
oh.
her. Yeah, so
yikes.
that was aces. So I didn't do
Oh
it.
my God. It's like an
So I got
after
a
school
lawyer.
story.
I got a lawyer, and we were like, okay, we're dragging your asses to court.
Yeah.
And after finding out what the situation was, I even remember my lawyer said, my client is really looking forward to the discovery part of the proceedings.
Yeah.
And they're like, what does he want? That was literally the exchange.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I got unemployment, I got a neutral reference, da 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 da. And that unemployment funded my first subscription to Voice 123. It
Oh,
funded
Nice.
my home recording setup, so
right.
that that got me going. That was like
Yeah.
2006. And then I stumbled and bumbled and bumbled and stumbled
Yeah.
until 2011, and then I went to my first voiceover conference.
Okay.
This was an unconference format. Where there were only 100 voice actors were allowed to attend, and
Oh.
there were no sponsors, there were
Hmm.
no presenters, there was only the people that came, we decided what the agendas would be, and we would present
Oh.
for each other.
Oh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's interesting.
it was really, yeah, it's an unconference format.
Okay.
It was an existing format, and it was called FAFCon. It doesn't it
I was
Sadly, it
gonna
doesn't
say
exist anymore.
no.
But I was one of the
Right.
100 people that was able to get in. I did not feel I deserved to be there, because at that point in my life, I did not feel that I deserved to be successful professionally or personally. So, but one thing I had going for me was that I had a lot of corporate restaurant training, where I would go travel the country and open restaurants and train groups of servers and then eventually
Mm-hmm.
groups of trainers. So I had a lot of guided discussion experience. So I decided I was going to do a presentation on how to run your voiceover business, which in 2011, there may have been one person. Nobody had ever done that before.
Right.
It just didn't exist. We were all just starving artists, but we were all self-employed starving artists, because this is
Right.
now that pay to play had been around for a little while, home recording been around for a little while, social media had been around for a little while. There was this, strata of voice actors that were appearing, that were doing their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
non-union, self-employed, having agents, but also finding their own gigs and using pay to play sites when they were in their infancy. So I did this presentation on how to write a business plan as a voice actor.
Huh.
And the Monday that I got home, I got buried with voiceover work. And I've done my cost benefit analysis. I've done my client churn studies. I've done the metrics. There is no logical reason why, after I did that presentation, that all of a sudden my voiceover career turned the corner. And I am not a cosmological, religious, spiritual person, but all I can say is that, eventually if the farmer plants enough seeds and waters them and picks the right, plot of
Mm-hmm.
land and keeps the bugs away, that
Yes.
eventually some stuff is going to sprout.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened to sprout that week. So it
Wow.
was
That's
weird.
great.
It was
That
weird.
is. No,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
almost like I don't know, it's like it was meant to be. Like you got on literally on your right path,
Yeah.
right? And like
Yeah.
all the stars aligned. I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally into all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
Wow.
and so I mean I've been pursuing voiceover for 15 years, and I had my, I was supporting myself, but now I was doing much more than just
Right.
supporting myself on it. So, and also while I was there was somebody who ran a voiceover kind of school thing and saw my presentation and immediately brought me on as their business and marketing instructor.
I think
So
I know who that is.
so that's how that is. So that's how that started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then yeah, and so I've been, successfully doing voiceover, and you know, and then not too far long after that, I came up with the VO Strategist brand, and I've been doing this ever since.
Yeah. So, okay, so when I contacted you,
Mm-hmm.
um, I had said to you, you have blogs and you have, YouTube channel and you send out a newsletter and it's
Mm-hmm.
all very well written, well done, lots of information. And, I appreciate that as voice actor, being in like going into my third year, I'm still in my infancy, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like heading into like, yeah, the middle of my career. But yeah, why are we so bad with money? Like, I'm seriously, like, yeah, I think I have an issue with money. And like, I'm
Yes.
a little on the woo side. So I'm like, okay, I need to unblock
Okay.
this. I need to like
I'll,
meditate this out. I need to
I'll
breathe this out, like, what's going on with,
I'll tell you.
yeah, right. So it's like,
Mm.
I think as an artist, that's hard. They say be open, like, you know, dive into the copy, connect, and then you have to like disengage and then do the business stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yes. Well, we've got a couple things going against us as voice actors. One is educational and one is cultural.
Yeah.
On the educational side, we have been raised on the Prussian educational system, which is a 19th century model, which is designed to create factory workers and soldiers.
Okay.
And us as artists, in its true sense, are we thrive on coloring outside the lines.
Yes.
In our educational system, which also teaches us how to think,
Right.
it's been working. It works against us every minute of every day that we try to engage in the arts at all.
Right.
So that's one part. The other part is cultural,
Okay.
which is we have been raised on this American Idol chorus line, starving artist, God, I hope I get it. If you're not a star, you're a loser mentality. And we bring that with us to the industry. So if you come into the industry like I did, thinking like a starving artist, you're going to get treated like a starving artist. If you think
Mm-hmm.
like a business, you're going to get treated like a business. How that relates to money is that at least us in America, we have a very strange relationship to money. And
Yeah.
it's cultural on a macro level, socioeconomic, political level, but it's also how you were raised in the home.
Mm.
Some people have been raised by their families to hate money,
Mm-hmm.
to be afraid of money, to covet money, to ignore money. None of those are healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
These are not healthy. So to it's very difficult to learn how to have a healthy relationship to money. Take all that and add on top of that, if you've been trained to be a 9 to 5er your whole life. So that means you work for your money. You get paid a set amount. You get 2 weeks vacation. Hopefully, you'll get health and well, not pension anymore,
No.
401k or
Yeah.
whatever. But when you are self-employed, like a voice actor, you work differently, you get paid differently, and you get taxed differently. So it's a completely. I mean, it's like you're filling out different forms
Yeah.
when it comes to that sort of thing. We were also no one's ever no, very I mean recently it's been a little better in the educational system, but we were never taught how to manage our money. We
No.
were taught to go to school, work hard, get good grades. Go to college, work hard, get good grades. Graduate, get one job, work at that job from age 21 to 65.
Yeah.
Get your golden watch, wait to die.
Yeah. Move to Florida.
Move to Florida and then rot. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, so that's what we're taught.
Play some
That is
golf.
the
Yeah.
that is the American dream. And that is an American dream.
Yes.
It can be an American dream. Can that be for us, voice actors?
Mm.
But like you get paid, you get a paycheck, well, now it's direct deposit, and then, you get your Christmas bonus, you get that one W-2 form, you take the standard deduction, and you're done.
Yeah.
Now you've got all these other things. And now for most of us, we have to manage our own health insurance. We have to manage our own credit rating. We have to manage our own bank accounts. I mean, you have to do that too, but like in a different way,
Yeah.
and you have to manage your own retirement plan when we were never trained to do any of this stuff. And now millions of Americans are doing this poorly.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
I
That's so
love hearing
true.
you talk about this because so many people just kind of ignore the whys of all these things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's how it is, how it was for me. You guys will figure it out.
Yeah, that's a great way to relieve yourself of the responsibility
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of being functional in this
Yeah.
industry, which is a lot of people, because a
Yeah.
lot of people just slam into the voiceover industry sideways and just wait for the phone to ring because they have talent.
Yeah.
Which is,
Not
grossly
true.
overrated in our industry.
I
And
actually,
no, go ahead, Lloyd.
I actually have a question, and it came to mind when you were telling your story, but you kind of repeated it again.
Mhm.
You said when you come into this acting like a starving artist, you're going to get treated like a starving artist.
Yeah.
And when you act like a business, you're going to get treated like a business. What is the difference? And I'm asking this both for myself and for everybody else. What is the difference between acting like a starving artist and being driven, would you say?
Mm.
Well, I mean, a starving artist can be driven, but starving artists are driven by dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Often it's nebulous, but sometimes it's, I'm going to move to Hollywood. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have a golden toilet or whatever.
Right.
You
My
know
name
what I
is on the
mean?
marquee.
My name is on the marquee because
Yeah.
they have these stars in their eyes. And
Yeah.
my job as the VO strategist is to rub the stars out of your eyes, to deprogram and demystify you so you can operate your voiceover business, with your eyes open, with both hands, and operating on a flat surface.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's challenging.
Totally.
It's really challenging because, like I said, we are not set up for success. But to answer your question specifically, Lloyd, is that what I do is I teach to get out of that starving artist mentality and to be effective. There's one thing to be talented. It's another thing to be effective.
Mm.
Right.
I teach my students to be effective voice actors. Like I said,
Yeah.
you could be the most talented voice actor in the world, but if you don't know how to invoice a client,
Yeah.
or if you don't know how to market yourself effectively, the talent does not matter.
Right.
Right.
Just like
So-
the landscaping company. I didn't
It's
even
like
know
the
who they
landscaping
were.
company. Exactly. So I teach systems of thought and systems of execution. Systems of thought are how to metacognate, which is like fancy SAT word to kind of like stand outside
big word.
yourself and think
Right.
about
Think about how
what
you're
you
thinking.
think about.
Mhm.
Think about your thought process,
Right.
because you have to retrain yourself because you have all these assumptions about
Yeah.
yourself, about the voiceover industry, and about what you think your relationship is or could or should be to the voiceover industry. And, if as Stephen Covey would say, if your map does not match the territory, you're not going to get far. Like he says, you're in Detroit, but you got a map of Chicago.
Yeah.
How far are you going to get? And then your classic person will say, well, just, work really hard. It's like, okay, you'll get lost twice as fast.
Right.
And then other people say, well, just be positive about it, man. It's like, okay, then you'll be lost and not give a crap. So
Right.
it's like, those are not effective pieces of advice. The
Right.
advice is get the right freaking map.
Right.
Make it line up so you know where the hell you're going.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's why, for those of you who are listening to this, do not see that on my Zoom background. I have a giant maze because,
Yeah.
you got to learn to be able to navigate it, how to be able to get from here to there. And
Mhm.
that's all systems of thought. And then that turns into systems of execution is what is the practical application of the
Mhm.
way you think about yourself and the voiceover business and your relationship to it. So you can be effective, which will
Mhm.
then make you relevant. I don't use the word famous or successful or rich. I use the word relevant. You
Yeah.
want to achieve relevance in the voiceover industry. And that means different things to different people. For some people, it is, I want to be in the next Pixar movie or the next Cartoon Network, whatever, or the next Fallout or, Halo or whatever. And that's all cool. I
Right.
want that. I want that stuff too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But for some
Yeah.
people, it's like, I just want to narrate one audiobook a month,
Yeah. I
you
just
know,
want to
or,
work.
Right.
or I just want to get enough explainer videos to pay for my grocery money or my Disney
Yes.
vacation. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
their definition of relevance.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that goes on a starving artist mentality, Lloyd, is that, you know, your success should not be defined by the loudest jerk in the Facebook group.
No. Yeah. I'm getting
Right.
tired of social media for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It is exhausting. And all I see all day is either bad advice or angry, cynical people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, classic example. Should I incorporate? People ask that on social media all the time.
Right.
And then they always get tons of answers, and they're all wrong. They're all wrong because not a single person said, "What state do you live in?"
Oh, good
Yeah, that's
question.
wildly different between
Is it?
Exactly.
states.
Oh,
Wildly
yes.
different.
Every state has their own incorporation and LLC laws, So what
Huh.
would be, or should I join the union? And people are like, oh, you should join the union, join the brotherhood. I'll say, no, I hate unions. They're terrible. No one says, do you live in a right to work state?
Yeah. That would be
This is
me.
what I'm saying. Okay. See, this is the thing. Nobody asks questions to help people answer their questions.
Yeah, I like
And that's
that.
why the discourse is, and that's why a lot of the discourse on social media is a colossal waste of your time, because it's either you're getting bad information, you're getting trolled, flamed, torn down, or you're just getting artificially puffed up. You're a beautiful, wonderful spirit. You're going to be great. Just think of yourself as a cloud floating over the industry and all these wonderful things. Like, really, dude?
Hey.
Like,
Yeah.
no, there's a place for that as long as it makes you effective and relevant.
Sure.
Most people puff people up on social media to make themselves feel better
Yeah, yeah.
because they can't give cogent advice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that is
You
just
got this.
wasting your time.
Right.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
got laundry to do, kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got
Don't
stuff
remind
to
me.
do,
Yeah.
right? Yes, I see a pile of it right behind Ken right now. Make sure you
Probably.
separate
Oh yeah, over
your
there.
darks from your lights.
I do.
No problem. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about. It's like, so cynicism doesn't help, hippieism head in the clouds doesn't help. And
Right.
clearly ignorance doesn't help.
Mhm.
Practicality, efficiency, effectiveness, that's what you strive for. How
Right.
you get there, is different because everybody's different. If you don't like Twitter, don't use Twitter.
Right.
If you like to make TikTok videos about yourself, make TikTok videos as long as it is effective and has a point beyond, I say beyond because usually it's beyond, oh, I'm supposed to make TikTok videos. Okay, great. Why?
Yeah. What's your purpose?
How is that?
Right.
How is that keeping voice seekers top of mind when voice seekers pay absolutely no attention to anything that any of us are doing on social media?
Right.
I want to practice violating my NDA by posting my auditions. Oh, okay, that's a great idea. Why don't you do that some more?
I see people on
Behind the
TikTok
scenes.
Live all the time auditioning off of voices.com or voice.
That is the
Oh wow.
dumbest
And
thing you
I-
could
Really?
possibly do. It's
I do.
Crazy.
And
shockingly dumb. Yeah.
I think about telling them for half a second, but I'm like, you know what? Go for it.
They'll figure it
I
out.
personally, I love making TikTok videos. And like
You're
you
good
said,
at it. Yeah.
And they're
social
cool. They're
media,
fun.
social media is, you're right. It can be such a negative echo chamber
Mhm.
sometimes, where I see a lot of aspiring voice actors or people who are thinking about it, and they can find the answers to their questions if they research, but they don't want to leave social media. They want to ask their question on social media. They don't want to leave it. So they ask their question, they receive their advice on social media, and then it doesn't work. And then they get
Yeah.
discouraged and they quit. And it's unfortunate and it's sad that there's probably very talented people that were given bad advice from all of these talking heads on social media. And
Yeah.
I'm personally there just to make people laugh and to be myself. I'm not of a mind. I'm not there to find clients. I'm not there to make money per se. But I think there is value in just putting yourself out there as a person and trying to differentiate yourself
Right.
from the
Yeah.
thousands of other people that are trying to do this. So if a
Yeah.
client Googles my name and they come across my goofy stuff on TikTok, I don't know. Maybe I'll be a little more likable to them. But
Hey, you never
Well,
know.
Never
I
know.
mean, we've
As long as you're
heard
having fun.
we've
I
heard
am.
a couple of people, like Mandy Fisher, we talked to,
Mhm.
a couple of weeks back. She's like, she definitely has booked off of
Yeah.
TikTok. You know,
Depends
that
on, yeah.
it does work for people, but that's maybe
Not
not where
everybody,
you
It
right?
right.
can
It's
it
Yeah.
maybe
can work
not
for some
where
people,
right,
but it
can, yeah.
requires consistency and thought,
right, and it's
Yes.
not
thoughtfulness
where you should
and
put
an
all of
actual
your efforts.
strategy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is interesting that you guys said that because I have a soon to be college student, and he's like, I really have a little bit of a gap year before I go off to college. And I'm like, okay, really? What are you gonna be doing? He's like, I've got this project I'm gonna work on. They all want to be YouTube stars, right? But he
Mhm.
didn't want, don't talk about it, mom, and don't tell anybody about it. I'm like, okay. I'm not telling anybody. Nobody's listening. But shh, don't tell anybody. But anyway, so I'm like, go for it. I completely 100% support you. But, just so you know, Mr. Beast, who is very popular, he went to college. He has a bachelor's degree in marketing and like he has an understanding of business and you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, some of those people that do make it on social media, they probably have like Tom is talking about some education in
Yeah.
understanding of, how to work the business side of things. Cause yeah, I'm sure there's people that don't, but like, yeah, but anyways, I have a question for you, Tom.
Sure.
Sometimes I feel like in the industry, some people do things maybe not necessarily like not the right way, but they go out on their own to be a voice actor and it's probably not all the great ways of doing it. And then there's some of us that like, I feel like we do everything that we're supposed to do. We take the classes, we train with the coaches, we get the demo, like
Mhm.
we get our booth set up and we're booking and we're making money here. We've spent a lot of money, and you just get to a point kind of where you get stuck, right?
Mhm.
And I'm at a point where in my career, I don't need my name on a marquee. I don't even need to be in the next like badass video game, I just want to work and I just want to make money.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm missing something, and to unstick me, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, I have an LLC and, I take care of all my receipts. I keep track of all of the business stuff. I mean, could
Mhm.
I be buttoned up way more? Probably. I'm on pay to plays and um but I don't know, like if you were talking to somebody who says like, I've done all the right things and I've booked, I have national clients, but I'm stuck in this like vortex of I don't even know. I don't even know how to pivot. Like I don't even know which way to go. I don't even know what to do,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so help
S-
me, maybe.
Oh, so that's why
No,
I'm
no,
here.
no. This actually like recently came up. Like I almost had a like like a Jerry Maguire like who's coming with me like and take
It's
the fish
true.
with me. I
We did have
literally
this discussion. We all had this discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like ready to jump out the window.
Right. I think, and that's what you're experiencing is not uncommon because you get all your ducks in a row
Yeah.
and then you hit this, then you plateau,
Yeah.
right? And you're not able to get past that plateau. I mean, I'm sure this isn't you, but it's possible that, I'll say the royal you, that's just as far as your talent and training and resources are going to get you because that's the vast majority of voice actors are only going to get so far. They're not going to be able, they're going to get some work, but they're not going to be able to support themselves. And then they just have a decision to make, which is, am I just going to stay here and, use it
Twiddle
and
my thumbs.
yeah, and well,
I'm
not
just joking.
twiddle your thumbs, but I'm just saying if this is as far as your business model as currently constituted can take you,
Yes.
then you revise the business model.
Yes.
How does one revise the business model? Well, one thing that I teach my students, I was actually doing this just today because I had a new
Oh.
mentorship student today, is, I was talking to them about why do you want to do this? And then if I ask somebody, they'll be like, well, this and that, and they'll come up with these whatevers. And I'll be like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I'll say, what's important to you? What are your values?
Mm.
There's
Deep.
morals.
You're looking in my
like,
soul.
yeah, here we go.
You asked the question.
I know I did.
Mm.
So there's morals, like 10 commandment that thou shalt not stuff.
Sure.
Then there's like ethics, which is like the don't steal the paper clips from the office supply cabinet. And then there's values, which is this is what is important to me.
Sure.
This is how I roll. And in a voiceover context, a value could be money. I want to do voiceover because I want to make as much money as I can.
Sure.
Is that valid? Cool. Status. I want to be famous. I want to be Bob Bergen. I want to be Joe Cipriano, which nobody outside of voice circles knows. They're lovely people, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only voice actors that anybody knows are not voice actors, they're celebrities who do voiceovers. Like Morgan Freeman is not a voice actor. He's
No.
a celebrity endorser.
Right.
He's gifted, but he's a movie star. He's
Right.
doing those gigs because he's Morgan Freeman.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Do you want to do voiceover because you read the newspaper to your visually impaired father when you were growing up? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
None of those are any more virtuous than any other one because it's very subjective. It's like, this is why I do it. This is what's important to me.
Mhm.
Like, okay, figure out your value system. What are you in this for? What are you fighting for when you're doing this? And you let your values guide you through the voiceover industry. Now, that is a systems of thought
Yeah.
answer. Here's the systems of execution answer. Is that in voiceover there's two groups of gigs. There's the audition and pray gigs
Yeah.
and the non-audition and pray gigs. The audition and pray gigs are commercials, cartoons, video games, promo, trailer, that sort of stuff. The other stuff, which you need to audition for much less, if at all, sometimes, is e-learning, corporate, explainer, medical, industrial, that sort of stuff. In my experience, the vast majority of voice actors who want to get unstuck and get past that plateau
Yeah.
has to understand the difference between those two groups and understand that, yes, auditioning is a part of a balanced breakfast of every voice actor. I tell all my students to audition 10 to 15 times a day
Okay.
between
Yep.
all three portals, which is what I call them. Portals are the three casting opportunity groups in the voiceover industry, which are representation,
Mhm.
online casting sites, and self-marketing. You want to, between the three portals, you want to be auditioning 10 to 15 times a day because also it is a numbers game.
Mhm.
Most of the time when people say I'm stuck, I'm like, how many times you're auditioning? And they're like,
Right.
it's like, well, okay, then, and I think of these portals as spigots,
Right.
and how are they turned on? How open, how much are they turned on and what's coming out? You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you want to be in that Pixar movie, but you're not in SAG-AFTRA, you don't have representation and you're barely auditioning, guess what? You ain't getting that Pixar movie.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? If you want to do audiobooks, which is the exact opposite, where you don't need representation and you don't necessarily need to be in SAG-AFTRA, and you go on online casting sites like Spoken Realms and Spotify and ACX and Ahab and whatever, yes, now
Yeah.
you can turn that spigot open and get the casting opportunities that you want.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of understanding how the industry works. Most people come in and they're not listening to anybody. They're saying, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And they don't listen. When I started, I thought I needed to sound like James Earl Jones and do commercials. I do
Mhm.
not sound like James Earl Jones. I will never sound like James Earl Jones. I am over 50 years old now, and I still sound like a 19-year-old trying to get served. And I'm cool with that. Because guess what? James Earl Jones can't do what I do.
Right.
Could you
Right.
imagine him doing an e-learning module? Turn to page 42. Nobody would pay any
Yeah.
attention to him. They'd be
Right.
too caught up in the quality of his sound. They wouldn't be
Yeah.
listening to the substance of the content.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I
Right.
can do that.
Right.
So understanding how much of what to do where and when, I can't tell anyone to do that because everyone's situation is different because everyone needs to define their own success story. This is the exercise I'm assigning all three of you to and everybody
Ooh,
who's listening,
an
which is I
exercise.
want you in severe detail to write down what the perfect voiceover day is for you.
Severe detail. I
Severe
like that.
detail. Severe
That's
detail.
The beer.
And here's the severe. What time are you waking up every morning? What time
early.
zone are you waking up in every morning? What are you waking up in? Are you waking up in a house, apartment, a condo, a mansion, an igloo, a yurt? Like, what do you wake? Like,
Tent.
A
a
new
tent?
Bugatti.
Oh, there you go. A pueblo. I mean, like, whatever. And after you do your morning exercise, have breakfast, shower, get dressed, and get ready to start your voiceover day, where are you physically going? Are you going
Mm,
downstairs to the basement, upstairs to the attic,
mm,
backyard? Is the limo picking you up? Are you getting on the subway? Are you getting on a bicycle? You know, and then
right.
once you get there, what are you doing? How,
Hmm.
what kinds of genres are you auditioning for? What kind of genres are you booking? How much money are you making? Now everyone says, I want to make as much as I can. Well, guess what? So does everybody else. But
Right.
I
Right.
want you to I want you to figure out exactly how much money you need to cover all of your rent or mortgage, all of your utilities, your
Hmm.
car payment, your house payment, your college tuition payments, how much you need to effectively manage your debt, how much do you need to save for retirement, and how much do you need to have a little fun. I want
Sure.
you to come up with that number. Like grab the abacus and write that shit down.
That's really good
Okay?
information.
Have all that. And then imagine what the day before that perfect day looks like.
Oh
And
my
the day
God.
before that perfect day. And that day, and the day before that day, and all the days before that until you're right now listening to my nonsense. What are you missing? What are the gaps
Mm,
that you have in skill and knowledge and talent that you have that's preventing you from achieving that perfect voiceover day?
hmm.
That's how, and it will also, once you write that all down, you'll know if you're able to get to that day or not. Because a lot of people aren't. Why? Because a lot of people aren't any good at what they want to do.
Interesting.
They're just not. There's a lot of people that try to do voiceover that just do not have the storytelling gene. They don't have it. They can do what my one of my acting teachers was called indications of voice acting. Burr, it's cold. Oh, I'm tired. That's all. That's as far as they can get,
Right, right,
you know,
right,
instead of hearing the cold.
right. It's a big
You know what I
difference.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That sort of thing. Or,
Okay.
you can be tired, but you're not without yawning some shallow two-dimensional demonstration indication of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Most people can't do that.
right.
So, and I tell them, we'll figure out what you can do well. You know, my, what I usually say is everybody's ever watched a cartoon or played a video game is trying to be a cartoon or video game voice actor right now. And
Hmm.
most of them suck, like hard, um, which is fine. But guess what? They'll start auditioning and they'll do a medical narration and they'll find that they can just say ankylosing spondylitis or familial hypercholesterolemia off the top of their head. And they'll be like, oh, I can make money doing this. It's
Right,
like, well, then you have a choice. Keep your hand in the game or keep banging your head against the wall.
right.
That sort of thing. Um,
I really
so
like that
Jocelyn, I think
exercise.
that's probably a good way to get yourself unstuck is do that exercise and do that exercise and figure out what your values are.
Yeah.
I will say this is values are malleable. There's a values exercise that I did 10 years ago 14 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. And this is when I was single and living alone in New Jersey. And then years later, I did the same values exercise again when I started living here in New York City, and I now have a wife and a cat. And the values completely changed. They
Yeah.
completely, they were, no values survived the swangin' bachelor's values. And now responsible Tom has this other set of values. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah, I
So,
do.
understand that these things change too. You will change and it's
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
maybe that'll
yeah.
get you unstuck.
I like that. I love all of that actually.
Cool.
Go Lloyd, do you have a
Is
question?
the values exercise on your website?
It is on my website.
Okay, yeah. I started it a very long time ago, and I didn't maybe I did finish it, but life stuff, and I haven't been
Clearly, it did
auditioning
not
for a while.
resonate with you. So maybe you should.
No,
try
no, it
again.
did. It
It's
did.
it's a blog on advostrategist.com, and it's called Got Values. Just type that in, Got Values, and you'll find you'll find the blog, and it'll take you to the values exercise. I encourage everybody to take it because I encourage everybody to hold the mirror up to themselves and
Mm,
take a good hard look at themselves and see what's really going on, warts
yeah,
and all.
that makes sense. Ken, I feel like you have a million and two questions, and yeah, I
I
want
do
you to
have
have
a
an
lot of questions.
opportunity. Yeah, before I don't want to take up the whole
Um,
night.
just in general, just the thing I'd like to hear about, because we haven't touched on it much, because you seem like a very analytical fella,
Oh,
right?
yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the creativity side of Tom.
Sure.
So
Ooh.
I know everybody's different, but for me, all of that stuff that we've talked about happens outside of when you're standing in front of that microphone, right? When you're in that microphone and you have that creativity and you express that creativity, for me anyway, I find that I have to spend that like it's a resource and it's a
Interesting.
battery that that could be recharged or that needs
Okay.
to be recharged occasionally.
Okay.
You mentioned something earlier that I'm not going to let slip past because I'm a huge nerd as well. I'm big into Dungeons and Dragons.
Love it.
It is one of my big recharges for my
Okay.
creativity. I
All
love
three of
it.
you. Love.
Yes.
I just
What? Go ahead.
no,
No, you can.
I just wanted to share the dice tower I have
Mm.
Oh,
right
that
here.
thing's
You
awesome.
throw it
Look
in
at
the
that.
eyeball and it comes out the mouth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I guess just my question to you would be, do you feel that at all? It's not like super draining, but I do feel that occasionally I need to step out and do something in the creative realms to recharge that battery of mine.
The short answer is most of the time, no. The reason why I think for me personally is because I had many years of theater training. For me, it's very, it's relatively easy to access and change gears. Do you have theater training, Ken?
No, and I think I was going to chime in earlier too, is I worked blue collar for 17 years. And we had talked about being trapped in that mentality of work 8
Yeah.
hours, get your paycheck, go home. And I
Mhm.
quit my job to do this.
Mhm.
And I do still struggle with that mentality of, hey, I worked all day today. Where's my money? Does
Right.
that make sense?
It does
Yes.
make sense, but it
Yeah.
doesn't
Um,
work. It doesn't apply
so
here.
so I think at this time my creativity was bundled, and now that I'm spending it, I
Mhm.
find that it is a little bit draining for me.
Right. It's interesting
Mm.
that I've noticed that the people who don't have that problem are people who have theater, film, TV, improv, opera, or stand up training before they come into the voiceover industry.
Huh.
Because that storytelling gene has been nurtured and developed and molded and shaped, and they're able to access it, channel it, and apply it a lot more effectively. It's literally a muscle. It's a
Yeah.
muscle that needs to be developed.
Mm.
Um, with your 17 years, in the blue collar sectors, that's just a muscle that you just haven't developed. So my suggestion, and this is a suggestion to everybody who, regardless of where they are on the voiceover journey, is get performance training, acting, improv, opera, stand up, one of those, if not more than one of those. Learn how to be able to channel the storytelling gene. Because here's the other thing
Mm.
is that one of the most overlooked skills in voiceover is the ability to make strong decisions quickly.
Mm.
More importantly, it's to make it sound like the words that you're uttering have never been uttered before in that particular combination by anyone in this particular context in the history of mankind.
Right. Authentically, real, and
Authentically. Yes.
conversationally.
You want it to be authentic, organic, sometimes conversational.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be presentational too, but it
Right.
doesn't, like, you're not umming and ahhing all over it. A speech is a speech is a speech. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like the more that you're able to channel that and the more that you're able to access your motivation Why am I saying this? Who am
Mm,
I talking to? What is my objective? Now we're getting into Stanislavski sort of stuff, creating objectives for yourself. Because guess what? I have an agenda and a motive for what I'm saying right now. Y'all have an agenda and a motive for bringing me on this show. Y'all have an agenda and a motive for all the questions that you're asking. Some of them are selfish, some of them are selfless, and all of that is okay. But all of it comes through in when you say it, how you say it. Are you
mm,
looking me in the eye when you're saying it? Are you fiddling with your hair when you're saying it? Or whatever. Because we're all our bodies betray us all the time. You know what
right.
I mean? Because we all have objectives and agendas and motivations. I usually say that usually you have there's three people inside you that are asking questions. There's like you, Ken, hey Tom, what time is it? There's, you know,
Mm.
there's the 14-year-old girl in you. It's like, oh my God, did you see what Allison's wearing this morning? You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
you know what I mean? And then there's your ego asking, so what do you think of this hat
yeah,
that I'm wearing? You know what I mean? Once I realized that, that's pretty much that's the genus of everybody's questions ever.
right.
You, your ego, or the 14-year-old girl in you. It's a lot easier to have a level of self-awareness. I'll often say before I say a question, I'll be like, hey, Bob, my ego has a question for you. And they go, oh, okay, cool. Or I'll say, the 14-year-old girl in me has a question for you. And they go, oh, okay. So they know exactly where it's coming from. And that means they know I'm asking an honest question and they're going to give me an honest answer.
Right, right.
But you know, I'm sidetracking just a stitch. But for you, Ken, get some kind of performance training. That will, it'll basically give you a larger battery with a bigger battery with a larger capacity. So you don't
Mhm.
have to recharge as often. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Y-
have had some improv training after I started this. It's interesting
Yeah.
you had mentioned
Mm.
that it's kind of going backwards a little bit. And
It is, but most people don't realize they need that sort of thing until they
yeah,
get here.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like voiceover training is extremely important. And then the voiceover 101 training is extremely important. Breath control, microphone technique, copy interpretation.
Yeah.
But then there's that layer on top of it of genre training, commercials versus audiobooks versus cartoons.
Yeah.
But what should be at the base of that layer, which is where people struggle, and you're sharing your struggles with us, Ken, is that base foundation of storytelling skills,
Yeah.
just storytelling skills. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
yeah,
Being a DM is good, but a DM with that's Dungeon Master, everybody.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I know you know that, but I don't know
yeah.
if our
Of
listeners
course.
know
Yeah.
that. I mean, I can't
They'll
speak to your
figure it
fan
out.
base. I can't speak to your listening base, but I'm
Yeah.
sure they're hip, happy mutants.
Yeah.
But like, the more that you can just understand what it means to tell a story, and it's not just once upon a time.
Mhm.
It's more than the once upon a time. It's the ability to be able to genuinely engage and connect with somebody.
Mm.
In being engaged and engaging. It's one of the most important things you need to do and be to be an
Mm.
effective, relevant voice actor.
Mhm. Yeah, that
Absolutely.
makes
I think
sense.
I think one thing I kind of want to add, and I mean, as far as training goes, like absolutely everybody needs training.
Hmm.
We need voiceover training, we need performance training, and one thing like Ken and I, we both done improv. Um, I I did improv to an uncontrollable extent over the last year,
Okay.
and the motive behind that was getting reps,
Hmm.
right? Because people
Hmm.
will go to the classes, learn these concepts, and be like, okay, I'm done. It's like, no, you have to put them into practice and like
Yes.
work on them,
Hmm.
Mhm.
keep going.
Yeah, that yes and muscle can atrophy quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the more, because yeah, improv training is the greatest. Because like I said, that's one of the strongest ways to develop that make strong choices quickly
Mhm.
thing.
Oh yeah.
Also, it works when if you're in a live session and the client says ABC that line,
Mhm.
you better be able to
Right.
come up with three versions of that line
Yeah.
that are dynamic and engaging in their own way. You
Yeah.
know. They
I
always
think
pick the
it,
second one anyway, but whatever.
yeah. No, that's like taking a test and always picking C, you know, like you always,
Abacab or abacab dab, abacab
yeah.
Yeah.
dab,
Mhm.
abacab dab.
By the way, what's your cat's name? Are you allowed to say? What's your
Uh,
cat's name?
and my cat made me sign an NDA.
Oh, okay, all right.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Her name is
No.
Kyoki. Her name is Kyoki. She's a Russian
Oh.
blue. Kyoki is Hawaiian for George, but my wife, who was born and raised in Hawaii, just liked the sound of the name. That
Oh,
didn't
I
care
love
about
it.
the cross gender. She's 17 and mostly deaf. I'm shocked she hasn't meowed into her water bowl to hear herself while we were doing this. But yeah, she's awesome and wonderful and loves couch squishes.
Oh.
That's
I
when
wish her
you
many
sit
more
on
years.
sit at the couch and you've got the arm of the couch on your side, and she will lie down sideways so her back is up against the arm of the couch and all four of her paws are pushing up against your leg.
Yeah.
And the more that you squish, the more she purrs.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
nice.
It's delicious. She
I
thinks
love
it's
it.
the greatest thing ever.
That's so fun. That's so cute. I'm a dog person, so I have like 2 dogs, but my one girl, she just like literally just she just sits at the door when I leave and just waits. And my boys will like take a picture and send it to me whenever I leave to go out of town. And it's like really, you know, animals are cute, kids are cute. Um, so okay, so we always do like a little fun thing at the end of. I mean, does anyone have any more questions? I know Ken, you had like 1,002 questions.
I
And
won't bother Tom with my ego questions.
Excellent. See how that works?
I think mine was the 14-year-old little girl question. I think.
Also good. Also
Yeah.
valid.
Mine was
Yeah.
definitely 14-year-old girl.
Nice. And Lloyd
Okay.
owned it. So good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have a fun little question. It's gonna be a round table kind of question.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, so you guys can do one. Well, we'll let Tom pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, whichever number you want.
3.
Okay. So what is something you wish you did more often? And you can go first or you can go last. We'll let you choose since you're our
I'll go
special
first.
guest.
It's
Okay.
funny. The question I said was market, but I'm such a marketing jerk. You know what I mean? But I'll say I wish I could be more effective and more engaging in my marketing.
Okay, it could be business or it could be unrelated.
Okay. I thought I just answered the question.
No, I'm talking to the other two. Sorry, I'm
Oh.
talking to the other two. Talking to the
I
other two.
want to say market. Like marketing is what came to mind because
Yeah.
I've been on that train mentally. But I think most honestly, the most important is rest.
Mm,
I
that's a
I
good
don't,
answer.
and it's really affecting me.
That's a
Yeah.
good answer. Yeah.
A good night's sleep is the most important tool in a voice actor's tool belt.
Yes.
It really is. Everything else is secondary to a good night's sleep, because if you don't get a good night's sleep, you ain't going to engage or connect.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
And it's a form of torture, not sleeping. Like
it is
like legit.
literally. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
legit. Kat, do you want to go?
Sure. Things something I wish I would do more often would probably be in a personal side, I guess, probably spend time with my wife. Honestly, it's kind of a lame answer, but
Not at all.
Beautiful answer.
Especially if your wife's in earshot.
she's she's far out of earshot. There's 5 layers of drywall between her and me right now.
Excellent.
Funny.
She just, we were married in 2012 actually, and we've had 4 kids since then. So
Wow.
we are wildly different people since then. And it's weird. Like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, I haven't had a deep conversation with my wife in a long time.
Yeah.
And then it still doesn't happen because in a true chaos mentality and everything that's going on here, sometimes it doesn't happen. So I wish I could do that more often.
That's awesome.
Spend some more time with my wife.
You're getting huge brownie points, especially if she listens to this episode.
She,
You are like,
hi, honey. Hello.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm like thinking, I'm like, do I do business or personal? And I guess I'll just like split the difference. Like, I think I just I need to do marketing more, I think, or like strategize a little bit better for sure. Like, I feel like that would help unstick me.
Mhm.
Or I need to just have like a real mirror kind of conversation with myself, like I really need to like have a real deal conversation with myself. I want a vacation though. Like, let's be honest. Like, I need a vacation more.
Okay, I gotta pause all 3 of you right now,
Oh boy.
because Lloyd said rest, Ken said spend more time with his wife, And Jocelyn said vacation.
Yes. There's a
Those are
theme.
the most important things. Time with yourself and time with the people that you care about. Time with yourself is rest.
Yes,
You know what
that's
I mean?
true. Yeah.
So can make sure you allocate a date night with your wife and get a sitter. Go out to dinner, go to a movie, water
Should.
polo, whatever you crazy kids do out there. Make sure you do it.
A lot of water polo going on in Ohio.
And Lloyd, stop doom scrolling on Instagram. Put down the damn phone and get some sleep.
I got ADHD and it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons behind it, but I'm trying.
Okay.
Okay.
Unpause. I just need
I-
to say that.
Oh, good. I escaped that wrath there. I'm just kidding.
Podcast ain't over yet.
Okay, so we have one final question, and you may have already answered it, but Lloyd's gonna do the honors of it, and yeah, we'll wrap up the night in the conversation. Oh, you have another question though?
No, but
Oh.
I also want to ask Ken this question
Oh.
because I want to see if he follows the trend.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
because he's our guest host. We have
Yes.
yes, he's our guest host tonight, and you're our special guest. So okay, you can ask both
So-
of them.
So I'm gonna ask both of you.
Okay, I
And
like it. It's
we'll
chaos.
start with Ken because I don't want your answer to be tainted.
Let me
Oh.
brace myself. What is this?
We go deep,
What
just so you know.
of all the things you've ever done in your life, what are you the most proud of?
What am I the most proud of in my entire life?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wish you would have prepped me a little bit on this question. I guess I would have to go with my immediate gut reaction, right? Because that's probably what it is.
Yes, no thinking, just saying.
It has to be my kids.
Yeah.
It has to be. It has to be.
See?
And you look at this.
We
The guy with
knew
no
you were
kids
gonna
is
say
going
that.
nuts.
It's always the kids. I
Because
love
look, if you don't have kids, and
Yeah.
I hate to say it, if you don't have kids, you just do not get it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to like poo-poo on people that don't, but man, the second my first kid came out, my life was 1,000% different. My essence transferred into that first kid,
This is
and
really deep.
she's carrying that torch, and they each got their little torches now. They pass it on to each other.
I love this.
My kids love my kids. They're great kids. Proud of them.
That's great.
Glad to follow the trend.
Yeah, you fit right in. All right, Tom.
What am I the most proud of?
Yeah.
Not having kids.
Yes. Yes. And that is so valid.
No,
I have a cat.
Yeah,
No,
I
I'm
have a
kidding.
cat
I'm
named
kidding.
George.
From a purely like selfish, self-centered point of view, I think the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I decided 30 years ago that this was what I wanted to do was voiceover, and 30 years later, I'm still doing it because I'm too stupid to quit. No, but like I was, I had a supportive teacher parents,
Yeah.
we're all in the arts in some way. So I was I was not discouraged. I was encouraged to do this. So like, if this you want to do,
Yeah.
go for it, knock yourself out. But in work and in friend circles, I was basically surrounded by people that did not understand what I was doing, did not respect what I was doing, passed judgment on what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. This is important to me. And I'm going to keep going at it. And I'm going to sell my stock portfolio. I'm going to sell my gold coin collection, and damn it, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
You know
Gonna
what
pass
I
out
mean?
those cassettes. You're gonna keep going.
Pass out those cassettes and keep going. So,
Yeah.
so
Your
yeah,
mom like actually turned you on to voiceover,
she
right?
did.
I
It was
mean,
just a
she,
very
yeah.
offhanded suggestion,
Yeah.
flipping
I think it's
through the pages of
amazing.
New Jersey Monthly. So thanks,
Yeah.
Mom.
Crazy.
Thanks,
I
Mom.
think that's amazing. And we talk about this all the time about how like you run across people, and I meant to say this earlier, like people come into your life and they kind of change your trajectory, right? And if you pay attention, it happens all the time, good and bad, I mean, yeah. And
Mhm.
and it could be a parent, or it could be like just some random
Dude on the
teacher walking
subway.
into the or
Yeah.
the random teacher walking into the office. And by the way,
Yeah.
were you in the office because you were in trouble, or were you in the
No,
office
I don't remember what
I
I
meant
don't
to ask
remember what we
that.
were. No, no, I only had a handful of detentions. I was a pretty good kid in high school, but I don't even remember what we were talking about. And then the chorus
Yeah.
teacher walked in, and that kind of
Change things.
there,
Yeah.
there you go.
That's interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight and like hanging out with us. And Do you want to do the
Yeah.
thing and share like how anybody wants to connect with you or take a
Oh,
class with
I
you?
was
We got to get
the
the
only
business
reason
done.
I'm here.
Right?
Yeah, thank you, Jocelyn.
That's your ego, right?
That was my ego. See.
We're
Now
learning something.
once those things are pointed out, it's like everything just kind of falls. It's like Matrix. You can now just see all the code.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that was cool because when I
Oh,
wiggled
that
my
you just
hands,
you
went down.
my AI webcam just started tracking me, so it looks like I shrunk. So
Yeah.
I'm just
Looks
gonna
like you were
just
going.
gonna go like that. It's gonna go back to that side. But anyway, yes, yes, everybody, please go to vostrategist.com, book that free 15-minute consult. We could talk about any part of the voiceover industry that you'd like. I encourage you to check out my VO how-to library. I have a library of streaming videos that talks about everything from filing your taxes to workflow to project management, genre exploration, AI. I clone my voice, so you can learn about that and everything in between. Check out my strategy sessions, diagnostics. Become my Padawan and join my VO mentorship program where I can
Oh,
help you
that's right.
navigate the voiceover industry.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the mentorship. I've
Yes,
I've
mentorship.
watched your YouTube channel and I've also I've taken classes with you. So especially centered around e-learning. You
Oh,
are
can I plug a
excellent.
class while I'm here
Yes,
too?
please. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a workshop called AI and Voice Actors Knowledge is Power. I will be doing that class on, where is it? I think it's going to be Tuesday, April 30th, 7:30. If you
It's on your website.
It's on my website, but if you email me or use the chat function of VO Strategist, I'll give you a promo code and you can take 20% off.
Ooh, all right.
I will talk about voiceover AI, like what AI is doing to the voiceover industry. I will talk about terminology. I'll talk about positive use cases, negative use cases, my experience cloning my voice, what you could do to protect yourself from AI bad actors, and how you can use AI to move yourself forward in your voiceover journey.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I like that. I like that because
Yeah.
everyone's been poo-pooing AI. So yeah.
And
Cool.
it's actually kind of crazy because right before I jumped on this call, I was checking auditions on Voices, and I had an audition that was like a private invite, and it was an AI thing, and it was like,
Mm.
oh, this is $27,000. That's a lot of
Right.
money,
Is
but
it?
also it's a lot of money for me.
Right.
But
But
is it an
Right.
appropriate
forever.
Yeah.
amount for
Right
what they're
now it is.
asking?
Yeah.
But is it a career-ending casting notice?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
That's the question.
You got to be smart about
I was
it.
like, I don't know about this.
Your 14-year-old little girl self, your ego, and the other one they need to talk about that first before you make a decision.
I probably am not going to do that, but it caught my
Tom,
eye.
yeah, that definitely, especially when you're early on in that, your career, $27,000 is like, $10
Tempting.
million. Yeah,
Right.
totally. All right, Tom, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah,
And
thank you for being here.
yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
Tom.
so much.
It was my genuine pleasure.
I'm